I did. I hadn't looked up yet.
You're just in awe, just shocked.
I hadn't looked up yet.
I was on my
What
one-on-one.
happened?
Well, my normal barber wasn't available.
Oh
My backup
no.
barber wasn't responding, and when I do my beard, I usually just like have it done,
Yeah.
and I was just like, you know what, it's getting too scruffy. Need to let my face breathe, and that's what I did.
Wow.
I was on my one-on-one with Rashid, and I was like this. I was like, to start off, and then I went,
Yeah. Yeah. Like you're calling a
he
play.
was like,
Calling a play.
and then he was like, "Oh my God."
See, the
Um,
the issue is when you have the beard, it doesn't get tan.
it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Light skin, sod. There we are.
Well, there you go. There you
Hmm.
go. I'm curious to see what happens when I go pick up Dua. She's gonna be like,
Oh no. I have at my cousin's house Christmas Day, my dad or no. Yeah, my dad had come like separately and he came down the stairs and he had shaved his mustache. I will never forget that moment. Ever. Freaked us the fuck out.
"Oh man." I mean, it's not like she hasn't seen me like that, but like now, obviously, kids are different. Like they
Yeah.
now she's like recognizing things and like super alert and observant and what have you. So we'll see. We'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
you're not a blob anymore. You're actually like a human being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Um, so Mike, what are we talking about today?
Money!
Money, money,
Must see
money,
the
money.
money! Gimme, 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 gimme.
And
More
yeah,
money,
like
please.
I think it's an interesting one because we've been thinking about talking about this for a
Yeah.
while, and I think for anybody that hears this, I think like it's probably worthwhile just to mention why, right? Like one, we don't get taught this. None of us get really taught this
Yeah.
in school, in college. Maybe like I guess like it's starting to become a little bit more
Hmm.
like I've heard at least part of curriculums and things like that, but it's not a common thing. Families don't talk about it. It's almost like taboo, things like that.
I still feel like I don't know shit. So,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
there you
yeah. But
go.
like, and I think that's what we're trying to kind of
Yeah.
get at is like address that. We're obviously going to be talking about it from the lens of real estate agents and real estate professionals, but a lot of what we're going to mention today, like, is relevant to not just business owners, but everybody.
Yeah.
Again, and two things I should mention. Neither of us are experts. We are not professionals in this space. We,
Weren't you?
yeah, well, I was, but so like we're gonna share our experiences, but we're gonna talk about getting the right help too, like because that is definitely a factor.
Totally.
So where do you want to start?
Uh, Gosh, let's start with the I don't know, being a 1099, being a contract worker, and how that differs, and how many more things are, I guess, in your control, but also like your responsibility as you are a contractor, whether that's taxes and expenses and what have you. So,
Yeah,
Saad, how do you kind of like keep track of things
yeah.
to start?
Amadeus, how you doing? Thanks for joining.
Amadeus, Amadeus,
uh,
Amadeus, Amadeus. Sorry. Yeah.
I think the first tenet for me is organization.
Yeah.
Um, you gotta have like if you just kind of like let it go. Yeah, it's great being 1099. There's so many benefits and things like that, but it's not gonna matter if you're not organized.
No.
Like it'll be a complete mess. It'll be super stressful. So, like you said, you mentioned taxes. Like if you're 1099, you're not paying your taxes, right? Well, you are.
Hmm.
You pay them in a different way. They're not getting paid. They're not getting taken out of your paycheck for you.
Oh, they're
So
not?
yeah. So you have to figure out how, when, like all that kind of how much, like all that
Hmm.
stuff needs to get figured out, and you need the right systems to do that. So I think getting the right system set up, which which like it's not the same for everybody. Like I have my system that works for me, um, but somebody else might have like like if they're a real estate agent. Like there's some real estate agents who just have a bank account where their commissions go into, and then they come out of those that account to a household account to pay bills,
Hmm.
right? And then, but whatever's left in that commission account, so to speak, is where they pay taxes out of, business expenses out of, all that kind of stuff. That account is also linked to their business credit card if they have one.
Right.
It's also linked to their QuickBooks if they are using like software to help manage the bookkeeping and things like that. That works for some people,
Hmm.
right? That's not the system I use, right? But I a big thing for me is as
Excuse
part
me.
of the systems. Bless you. As part of the systems is like having the right help and a couple of the right accounts set up. And I mean, I'm old school. Like I use the like Google Sheets to
Yeah.
track
Yeah.
my Torii expenses, to track investment property expenses, to track expenses at my own house because part of it is a write off, right? Like all that, and it works. That works for me, and I just share that with my accountant, on an annual basis, and then they kind of take care of everything. They ask questions, blah blah blah, and again, that's a system that works well for me, but for some people it may not. So again, goes down to when it comes to organization, get the right systems in place, get the right accounts in place, and get the right help as well. And
Yep.
and, and talk about help if later in the call. But Salman, what's up? Osama, what's going on? Thanks for joining, guys. Um, yeah, so that's I think the main thing on my end is
And
get organized.
and how in terms of like the spend and everything like that, like that all stays on one credit card for you, separate from anything else that you're paying for, or
So
what?
that's what I used to do, right? I used to do that, and I changed that because, with especially when you factor in investment properties and stuff like that. Like, dude, I'm not gonna have a different bank account, different credit card for every single thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's why. So I put it all on one, right? And Salman just mentioned like they have apps for budgeting. He's like Sheets caveman, but listen, he's right. Like it is
What do
old
you
school.
think? Yeah, at their core, these apps are just glorified sheets,
Yeah, and I'm a
right?
part of me is like I don't want to divulge too much to all these apps and things like that. They're sharing information all the time and what have you. But like I think for me again, it's quick, it works, and like I just pass that information on when I need to.
Yeah.
But right now I do have, and there's gives and takes to this. There's no perfect solution, but now because of the multiple properties, I have a couple of partnerships involved with those properties, and some of them I own on my own, and then we have Torii, and then which is like its own business, and like
Yeah.
having multiple credit cards for each one or multiple bank accounts for each one would just be too much to manage. But you can do that and then have a bookkeeper too, right? That tracks it all. So there's again a system for everybody. It doesn't always have to be exactly the same for everyone. So. Um,
The I was thinking of the memes you always see about like a realtor waiting to like making up tax numbers or like waiting till the last minute, like, oh, I spent it already. So that's
yeah,
like, I think that's the most dangerous game for folks is not allocating that.
yeah,
And yeah.
and that's where like the planning comes in, right?
Mhm.
I think once you're organized, it's so much easier to plan, and that's where, like in our business, they call it the real estate roller coaster. Like it is a roller coaster. You're gonna have some months where you do a lot of business. You don't want to spend all that money. You want to
And
put it away into a few different buckets, a few different accounts, and things like that. And then on those months, that way, those months where things are a little slower, you're not scrambling. right? You can't get that money back that you spent on a watch or a vacation and what have you. So, and these bills, like, you've got to pay them. Like, when
Yeah.
it comes to taxes and your insurance and your housing costs and things like that. So you got to plan ahead, and create a budget. So that's part of the organization piece too. Is um, especially initially create a budget, and then once you create it, then yes, it's going to change. You're going to iterate on it. Your income goes up, your budget changes, blah blah blah. But eventually, you'll get used to it. You'll get into a rhythm where the budget's just kind of like it's there if you need it.
Hmm.
But like it's most of it's going to be up in your head. So, whatever level of organization you need, do it, put it in place, and then as you get reps with it, it's like second nature.
Yeah, as someone who is a lifelong procrastinator, it's not worth the stress in the end. It's just not worth the chaos and the stress of all that. So I just had to I had to go through that a bunch. Not
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
why am I forcing this upon myself? Like I don't really I don't
yeah.
understand.
And
So
it's not hard to like. And one key thing to I guess mention is if when you get started with this stuff, when things are relatively simple, right? And you evolve as things get more complicated. When things get
yeah.
more complicated, they're not that hard
Hmm.
because you've been doing it for long enough where it's just like, okay, now it's like one additional app that's plugged into what you're doing or one additional tab on your Google Sheet, like me.
Right.
Like, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? So like it doesn't become overly complicated if again you spend like a little bit of time to get the systems, the organization in place.
Hmm.
And you mentioned it, like taxes and emergency fund and things like that. Like, yeah, you need to as a 1099, as a contractor, you need to set money aside for taxes, and then your emergencies. Everybody should be doing that,
Yeah.
right? But that looks different for different people too. Like I'm not a fan, for example, of the idea of having a 6 month cash reserve. I know that's kind of like what people say is you need to have a 6 month emergency fund. That's a lot of money to set aside doing nothing.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I'm a fan
Make
of
it.
like making sure that your money's working hard for you and all that kind of stuff. So like I have a different way of doing that, and that's like making sure I have an equity line open that I can tap into if I need to. It's there. It's easy
Hmm.
cash that's accessible, but my actual cash I want it invested. I want it kind of, I want it kind of like working even when I'm sleeping. I don't want it sitting in a checking account or, savings account or something like that.
Yeah.
So regardless of what your strategy is on the emergency fund side, you should have a strategy.
Yeah.
Like you should put some money aside or have some money accessible that you can use in the case of an emergency.
Enough that you feel safe. Otherwise, you're good
Right.
to go.
Yeah. That you can, yeah, like, your car breaks down, something happens at home,
Yeah.
like, you need to make an emergency trip somewhere, like, that you haven't planned for. Like, these things, yeah, these things will happen. It's part of life. So you need to be prepared for that.
Next question is: Are we writing off this podcast? Can we write this off? Can you write off the hat? Can you write off the glass? What are we doing? What are write offs and how do they become advantageous? And I'm going to segue that into stuff that I only came to more into knowledge of the investment property type writing off things
Sure.
and how advantageous that is. So let's start off with just like your typical like behavior. You're going to lunches, you're driving your car, you're purchasing things for the business. Like, how do you kind of manage that?
Yeah. So everything I do, everything I spend money on for the business, whether it's my car, whether it's a client event, whether it's swag, whether it's a gift for a client, whatever, it's a write off. So I typically budget for a certain amount every month. I reconcile like on a semi-regular basis, right, on what I actually did spend,
Mm-hmm.
and I update those, and I update kind of like you know, those sheets of my tracker regularly on that front. You know, it's not something I have to do super often, but I know that like there's a certain amount I'm probably going to be spending on a quarterly basis. So it's kind of like forecasting and planning ahead.
Hmm.
So yeah, and all that's a write off, and all that you got to make sure that you have you know. That it's tracked, and that in the event that you get audited or something like that, that you can prove it. So you want to make sure that, and then for that reason, I mean, you know, one knock on my process is that like, you know, an app would
Keep the
make that
receipts.
super easy and keep receipts and things like that, right? Uh, in the event that something like that happened, right? And so I think that is definitely, you know, especially as you know, given where things are right now in my life and in my financial life, like it's uh, it's something to consider. But you know, I mean, I also hope for the best that that never happens. I'm not gonna be that. So it keeps getting pushed off in that regard. But you're right.
Yeah.
Like that is something
The,
to keep in mind to keep things simple for yourself.
the looming boogeyman of an audit.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, keeping track of all that stuff is critical because it can save. I mean, it literally. I think I've shared this with you, but it literally the whole you know write offs and things like that. It cut my tax bill in half for last year. Like
Hmm.
you know, doesn't matter what the number is. Like that's a lot. So like so and that and if I wasn't tracking that, my accountant would have no idea.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. Let's get into that. The assistance of
yeah.
of proper folks being in your circle. So, what do you? How do you communicate with your accountant? When when do you? I don't know. File? Do you file earlier? Do you push for like a deference? Like, what's the?
No, I file on time. They usually reach out to me 2 to 3 months ahead of
Hmm.
like you know what is it April for us, right? April 15th or what have you, just to start getting things in order and getting the information they need. Uh, any documents that come in, you know, like whether it's through snail mail or like you know digitally, just so they can get them and start putting it all together. I used to do my taxes by myself,
Yeah.
right? And that was helpful
Me
because I
too.
learned a
Yeah.
lot. I learned a lot, but I can't now anymore. Uh, I just don't have the time, and nor I mean now it's just quite complicated. So it's like I just don't know. I know I'd be leaving money on the table if I were not paying somebody a couple of grand to take care of it. So an accountant is critical. I thought about hiring a bookkeeper, but again, I kind of keep my own books, and it's a simple process right now. But you know, we have a couple of bookkeepers for the business. You and I do, right?
Hmm.
And that's been super helpful.
Shout out,
To yeah, Big
Big
Rich,
Rich.
Brandon, you know these guys have been awesome for us to help kind of really put the right again to put on the business side the right systems in place, the right
Yeah.
organization in place. That's kind of like the big boy stuff um, of like when all the systems are connected, right? QuickBooks with the bank account, with the credit card. That's what we're doing on the specifically for the business. I
Yeah.
don't do that. I don't do that personally yet because everything's kind of like because again, I don't have different accounts for everything. So it's like it'll be too intermingled. So yeah. So I think bookkeeping, accountant. I think on the personal side is critical. Um, you know, I think there's something to be said about doing it yourself for a little bit and learning because I think that's important. Nobody can really um, nobody can really kind of understand your situation better than you, right? So like I think like really having a good handle on it is really important. But eventually you're gonna need help, and it's good to pay for it because
Yeah.
these guys and girls like they know what they're doing. And so on that note, a financial advisor. You know,
Yep.
that can help you with tax planning, but also in terms of like the future, like wealth building, retirement planning, all that kind of stuff. So, because yeah, you're saving money for emergencies, you're saving money for taxes, but you got to save money for the future too,
Hmm.
and that's where somebody like that is really critical. Those are kind of like the key pieces to my the help I get on the financial life side of things.
Yeah. Do you come to them with a like next year's goal in mind? Like, what does that look like? What are your conversations with your financial advisor look like to you?
Cass just joined. Cass, what's
Cat,
up? How you doing? We got
hey, what's
Rabia in the
up?
house. We got Mila. Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining. Um, yeah, so I think so in terms of my conversations um, with like financial advisors, financial planners, those types of folks.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's a little bit in the next year, but like the way to kind of break it down is what's your goal for the next year and where do you want to be in the next 5 and 10 years, right?
Hmm.
Um, I have a pretty pretty set, like there's a few in terms of my personal goals, like financial goals. Like I've made it very clear to them like what I want to do and how I want to do it and what have you, and I just need them to help me make sure that the money that the money needs to be in the right accounts, right, in order to accomplish what I want to accomplish, um, and it needs to be invested in the right things,
Hmm.
right? I can't control that second piece, right? I can't control the markets and how they go up and down and what have you. But what I can control is the accounts that they go into. Am I getting the right tax benefits and are they tax advantaged and all that kind of stuff? And also how much money I'm putting in. So I just have them help me based on my goals determine what needs to go in while at the same time knowing that hey, like I have short-term goals of we've talked about this on the investing side, uh, like how do I keep doing that too, because it's all
Yeah.
kind of related.
Yeah.
So um,
Can
so yeah, that's a very open conversation that we have and we revisit probably every 6 months.
can you give the listeners a little advice of like it seems like once you get one investment property, you can start then rolling one thing into another, just kind of how that works, why it's easier once you get going
Yeah.
to acquire other ones.
Two main things on that. Number one is, I mean, actually, they're both related to the same thing. That's financing, right? When you own one, right, and it's an investment property, eventually, like, let's say you're not living your plan is not to live there anymore and you're going to get rent. That's housing costs that you're not going to have anymore because the rent's going to cover that, right? But not only that, you have
Hmm.
an asset that can be used as collateral against a loan. So
Hmm.
you're basically your risk profile goes way down because you have a substantial asset, especially in Greater Boston.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
you have a substantial asset that can be used to help you get financing and limit the Harris. What's up, man? Good to see you here. But like it limits the amount that you'll need to kind of show in terms of income, right? When you're trying to get a loan or what have you. So that's number one is the fact that the asset makes you much more attractive as a mortgagee, right?
Even though it's not paid off.
Even if it's not paid off, because if there's a payment on it, the theoretically you're getting rent, and that's going to cover the whole thing. And it's
Hmm.
basically like that doesn't even matter anymore, right? So
That might be our first comment of big fan of the show. New level unlocked. Love
oh
it.
Yeah, true that.
Usually that's like whispered to us in like a confessional manner, like or like a sympathetic manner.
Or
It's
in
never typed in
person.
there.
uh, yeah. And then the second piece is what a lot of people fail to realize is that you can tap into that equity, right? Like that equity. Yeah, it's not free. You get an equity line. There's an interest rate on it and all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. But uh, I'll tell you this. I'll just use. I mean, this is story time, so let me use it as an example, right? My first property helped me buy my next three. So, like, I tapped into the equity, kind of, first time commenter. Love it, love it, love it. But like I tapped into the equity, bought my first investment property, and I paid it down, bought my second, and then I didn't use it for my third, but on my fourth, when I bought my first multifamily, I used it again.
Mm-hmm.
That same equity line, right? Just like have them. Basically, it's like part of my budget. I know there's going to be a payment that's going towards that equity line every month. But again, it doesn't just serve the purpose of that, like these big expenses. Uh, it's also my emergency fund. So like it accomplishes two goals at once.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's not possible to do that if you don't have the property,
yeah. Right.
right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
so it makes it opens up so many more options, I think. But if you know how to manage it, if you don't know how to manage it, if you're not, like paying it down regularly and what have you, like forget about it. It's not a good option for you,
Mhm.
right? Like I said, I think it's something that I've had now for almost 10 years, two versions of it, and because I use the place I live in now. That I use equity in the place I live in now to pay off that old equity line to create a much bigger one.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, now it's like that much easier for it to help accomplish the goal of buying more property, but also maintaining that healthy cash reserve or built-in cash reserve without having to
Brilliant.
put a bunch of cash in.
Yep.
So,
Brilliant.
like again, the strategy is different for everybody. Just because I do it does not mean Mike, you should do it, or Howard should
Yep.
do it, or anybody else should do it. But it works for me because of the systems I have in place and my goals. But that's why it's so important to have the right people in mind: accountant, bookkeeper, financial advisor, what have you, people you trust, and frankly, people you pay to do good work for you,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
you can kind of like have some peace of mind.
Yeah. Yeah. You could.
So
They're worth it.
yeah,
They're worth it.
yeah. I mean,
If someone's trying to, I think we take the same approach. Like it's kind of like everywhere. If you feel like you're being sold to, then that's probably not the person. This is like I'm going to talk about this confidently, and you can take it or leave it in terms of my services.
yeah,
And usually at that point, you want to take it. Like,
right,
yeah,
right. Yeah, I mean, you got to feel good about the people you're working with. You obviously have to like them. They have to be competent, all that kind of stuff. But like, we're too busy to do all this ourselves. Right? We're
hmm
not professionals in all these areas. So getting the right help, like I told you, I think my fee to my accountant last year was $2,500. Like I saved I saved half. I reduced my tax bill by half.
yeah,
That's 100% worth it.
and that was
Much
more than
more than
$2,500.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that's what
yeah,
I'm saying. Much
yeah.
more than 100% worth it, right? So, so I think that granted, like I have no idea what my bill would have been if I didn't have a good accountant team, but
hmm
like I know I would not have had the same level of benefit. It was worth at least the 2,500 bucks, but
There you go.
let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I think good help is worth it. Go seek it out. We're all too busy to try and do all this stuff that we're not experts in on our own. Uh, but I think the key thing that we can't control is being organized. So
Yep.
do that. So
Yep. Right on. All right, brother.
awesome. Thank you everybody for joining.
I think
Another
you did
story
great. This is
time.
a nice one. This is
Yeah,
nourishing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hopefully you learned something too.
I did. I did. Yeah.
The world gets to see my clean shaven beard too. I mean, I don't know, we'll see. It's not gonna be like this next week. That's for sure. It'll probably be okay.
Bro.
But yeah. So I think yes. I mean, again, this is I think that not a topic that not discussed enough. We'll probably revisit it because things change all the time. I wish more real estate agents joined so we could kind
Yeah.
of get their take on it, but maybe we'll get some comments and stuff like that later on.
We'll just DM them
Yeah, yeah,
like
exactly,
unannounced. Yeah. So
exactly.
yeah.
He's
Right
Mike.
on.
I'm Saad. This is Story Time. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, everybody. Bye bye.